Christmas markets. I know a lot of us are not going to have the Christmas that we really would love, or a traditional Christmas. So let's just forget all that for tonight, and let's just go and have a real old-fashioned European wonderful Christmas markets, and we can just think about it and, you know, plan for next year or whatever. And then for all of us who are celebrating the 5th night of Hanukkah, I want to wish everybody a happy Hanukkah. I mean, 'tis the season, festive season. Everybody gets to celebrate and enjoy whatever their holidays are. So I'm going to welcome back dear friends and from AMAWaterways. Those of you who have been with us for a while have met Brian Rademacher and Liz Barrett. But I'll introduce them again. As all of you know, AMAWaterways is probably my most #1 favorite river cruise company to work with. I mean, not only is the experience on the ships, which I've been on many times, just fabulous, but working with the company, I mean, they really have hearts of gold, and they really do care about clients. It's not something that's some corporate thing that's just profit driven. I mean, the client experience is really most important, and that's why I love working with them so much. So here we are, Christmas markets. What a better way to see the Christmas markets than on a river cruise? Because if you go to one, you just see one. But if you're on a river cruise, your hotel goes with you, and you get to see all these different amazing Christmas markets. So I'm going to turn this over to Brian and Liz and take us to the Rhine. Let's get into this Christmas spirit and see what an old world European Christmas is really like.
Thank you, Sandy. Hey, everybody. I'm Brian Rademacher. I'm not Santa Claus. I'm a reasonable facsimile, though. This is as good as I can get to Santa. And again, thank you. Thank you, Sandy, for your support. And Sandy's been so kind to invite Liz and I to do a series of these webinars. And we've been on with Warren before as well, and some of the wine tastings. So you're in for a treat tonight. And Liz is going to have a little surprise for us too, right, Liz?
Wine adjacent.
Wine adjacent. I have mine right here. Hopefully you all have a little, yes, we're gonna have a little toast towards the end as well. So let me do this. And I'm by the way, up in wine country. I'm in Sonoma County in Petaluma. So thank you again for coming out. And thank you to Sandy once again. I'm gonna share my screen. Hopefully, here we go. Share, and let me pull this up. Bear with me. There we go. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Cool. We're off to a flying start. Excellent. All right. So yes, indeed, here we are. And of course, we're hunkered down for this holiday season. But as Sandy said, we're going to look forward. Actually, we have next year, 2021, and candidly, 2022 as well. The books are, frankly, are open. And there are Liz and I. And Liz, did you want to quickly jump in and say hello and sort of mention your expertise and what y'all do, what you do with us?
Yes, well, honestly, it's so funny because I'm usually on webinars about wine, but Sandy has become such a dear friend, and this is such a fun group of people that yeah, I got invited again. And honestly, I love it. And honestly, all of our cruises have such amazing wine. So that's my expertise. I manage all of the wine cruises, and I'm a certified specialist of wine. A wino.
A certified wino, Liz.
A professional wino.
Yeah. And let me tell you, managing close to 70 different wine celebration cruises, or celebration of wine cruises is what we call them. That's not easy, and Liz does it with great aplomb. So I'm always amazed at how well she runs the show. And I always use the term circus master, which is a compliment, and she does it incredibly well. And so I'm happy to work with her for sure. And as I'm and Liz and I very happy to work with Sandy. And, you know, we don't advertise at AMA, so we were very reliant on our partnership with our travel agency community. And Sandy, we can say without question, is one of our tremendous supporters, and we love working with her. And Sandy had asked that we focus tonight, as she mentioned, on the Rhine River, and that's what we're going to do. And we actually have these 3 different itineraries that you can celebrate Christmas markets on the Rhine. So there they are. And I wanted to show you this picture. So we're very European centric in the sense that that's one of our co-founders and owners, and her name is Christine Karst, and she comes from Dresden, actually raised in East Germany, of all things. And she just got back recently from visiting her mother and father who live there still. Her daughter lives across the hill in Sonoma, just got married recently, and her nephew. But again, we're very European centric, and so we very much appreciate Christine and Rudy, her husband's running of our company. And it is family time. That's what you think about, certainly when you think about Christmas markets, right? Family time. And so she epitomizes that for sure. And I guess this is the white variety of the Glühwein. A lot of people think of the more red variety, but there's a white variety, right, Liz?
I actually have the same mug that her mom is holding.
Really?
Isn't it fun? Yes, it's exactly, it's from the city of Linz.
And Linz is on the
Yeah.
Danube River, actually. We do the Danube as well for Christmas markets. But as I say, tonight, we're focused on the Rhine. And so certainly part of the fun of being on a Christmas markets cruise, obviously it's seeing the Christmas markets, but we also bring the holiday cheer, as it says, on the ships as well, whether it be how the ships are decorated, and they are decorated beautifully. We save some of the trees to be decorated so that you can do that as well. If you maybe miss doing that at home, you can come and decorate the trees on board. We have Christmas caroling as well. Certainly, we do welcome extended families. So some of our ships have triples and quads, meaning cabins that take 3 or 4 and connecting. So the idea of a multi-generational situation with grandparents and kids and grandkids, I should say, that certainly is something that you can consider as well. And then obviously part of travel is the culinary experience that you get to have wherever it is in the world that you might be going. Well, in this instance here at Christmas market time, you're going to be able to enjoy the various culinary aspects of that time of year in Europe. So for example, the Christmas goose you'll be able to have. Typically that's served on the 24th, 25th, 26th, but of course we'll serve it more often than that. The beautiful baked gingerbread. Now, when I say baked, we have a bakery on board. Every night, fresh breads and pastries are baked for the mornings. So it is absolutely wonderful from that standpoint. The various holiday drinks, of course, when you're out and about at the markets, the wonderful sausages and meats that are being cooked, and of course, the Black Forest cake that we have available as well. Did you want to weigh in here, Liz, at all on the culinary aspect?
I just wanted to share with you, one of my favorite things is the Glühwein that you get almost, well, pretty much multiple times a day, but in a Christmas market, you're going to see this. And every Christmas market you go to, they all have their own Glühwein mug. You can either keep it or turn it back in. Of course, I collect them. So I've got some really fun ones. This one is, oh, you can't see it. Santa. It's 2 different mugs, but it's Santa's whole outfit. It's just fun. And I just have to say, one of the best things about Christmas markets is you get to drink and shop outdoors. I mean, where do you get to do that anywhere else? So just saying.
Yeah, just saying.
And this Liz was very kind to share a Glühwein recipe with me, and so I have that in the chat box. If you
That's what I'm drinking right now.
Right.
Yeah.
If you want to download it, I'll also send it with our follow-up email. But if any of you are anxious to see what that is, or go ahead and make it, you can download it from the chat box.
It's really quite simple to make in a crock pot. And what a festive thing to have at your Christmas Eve.
Indeed. And actually, there are various recipes for the Glühwein. So that's each town, each village, they have their own recipe. Sometimes within each given Christmas market, the different stalls may even have their own separate recipes. So it's not like one size fits all, right? Correct. So this is a typical itinerary on the Rhine, which is from Amsterdam down to Basel, Switzerland, or the reverse, calling on the Netherlands, Germany, France, and Switzerland. This program also next year, it's kind of cool. We're going to offer, in addition to the 2 nights in Lucerne and 2 nights in Zurich, there's a Lake Como package as well. 3 nights at the Hilton on Lake Como. But anyway, this itinerary is very traditional in the sense of going here through the Alsace region of France, which is fantastic. Of course, up here through Heidelberg, Rudesheim, Cologne. So terrific itinerary. This is that itinerary I just mentioned. That's relatively the same, but you have the opportunity here to do a 3-night pre or post stay, again, at the Hilton on Lake Como, which is a beautiful property. There's an opportunity to do a little boat ride up to Bellagio as well. So that's the second itinerary. And then this is a different itinerary. It's longer, it's 10 nights. And the reason this Basel to Amsterdam part here, however, you break off and do the Moselle, or the Mosel, as the Germans say. And that particular river, the Mosel, is a river that you will hear many cruise managers often say is their favorite river in Europe, their favorite from the standpoint of it being the most beautiful, the most quaint, the most bucolic river in Europe. So if you've not been on the Moselle or the Mosel, this might be an itinerary for you to think about because it incorporates the best of the Rhine, but then also takes in the Mosel as well. So I just wanted to whet your appetite before we really whet our appetite with drinking some wine here quickly, with just some pictures of the places you're going to get to visit. Now, Basel in Switzerland sits right at the area where obviously Basel's in Switzerland, but a stone's throw away is France and a stone's throw away is Germany. So right in the corner there. Plus it's our operations headquarters. We have an office here as well. This Christmas market is literally about a 10-minute walk from the ship. And then Strasbourg, as I mentioned earlier, and Liz mentioned being out and shopping. Well, Strasbourg has wonderful Christmas markets, the stalls as they're called, but then there's also fabulous sort of traditional shopping here as well. And I mentioned the Alsace. So the Alsace is a region of France / Germany that sits along the Rhine, where this part of France used to be Germany and that part of Germany used to be France. So instead of saying we're French, we're German, they say we're Alsatian, and it's a very unique area, certainly from a culinary standpoint, from a cultural standpoint. That little town of Rijkeweer that was on the map, Disney was so enamored of Rijkeweer that they modeled their village for Beauty and the Beast on Rijkeweer. So if Disney becomes enamored of a place, you got to know that it has some charm and some quaintness to it. Now, out of Strasbourg, there is an opportunity for an excursion to go to Gengenbach, as Christine says. She gets that guttural sound in there as a good German speaker would. And this is to go see in a medieval village of Gengenbach, not only the Christmas market, the carolers and choirs singing, but the largest Advent calendar in the world. The town hall there turns into an Advent calendar. Every window is literally the Advent calendar. What a unique opportunity. We have one downstairs at our home, which our boys go to in the morning with excitement. But can you imagine going to see this one in Gengenbach, right? Which is really rather remarkable when you think about it. So that's a pinch me moment for sure. As is coming to Heidelberg. Now, Heidelberg is not on the Rhine River. It actually sits on the Neckar River. So it's about a 30-minute motor coach trip, what have you, to get to Heidelberg, but absolutely well worth the visit. It's a university town. It's actually Steffi Graf, the former famous German tennis player. She lives here right on the Neckar River as well. Again, wonderful shopping on a very long shopping street that is here. So wonderful Christmas shopping, both in the markets and otherwise. And then I'm going to let Liz talk a little bit about the experience here in Rudesheim, because that's her bailiwick, right, Liz?
Well, this is one of my favorite you might, if you've been on any of our presentations about the Rhine, a wine cruise, Rudesheim is all about wine. And we go to a spectacular winery. Adolf is the owner and winemaker. And I think there will be a Spätburgunder, if I'm not mistaken, in the wine tasting today. I saw it in the email. And Spätburgunder is Germany Pinot Noir. And it's so much fun to try the different varietals here and just see the Christmas market in this tiny little town. It is one of those where the streets are very close together. So They just it's like a labyrinth of shops, Christmas markets. Shopping is at its best here, and drinking wine as you're doing it. Seriously, that's just perfection.
All right. This is also pretty amazing. And that, of course, is Cologne. Now, any time is worth going into the Gothic Cologne Cathedral, which, by the way, speaking of the Christmas time, the three wise men, Gaspar, Balthazar, and Melchior, their relics are actually here in the Cologne Cathedral, which you may not know that. So that certainly makes it an interesting visit at the holiday time with the three wise men's relics there. And then, of course, the wonderful, you can see the markets, the Christmas markets are there as well. Now, if you've had your fill of Glühwein, and here you are in Cologne, then you must make your way to the Kolsch Beer Hall. And of course, every German town brews their own beer. And of course, Cologne believes they brew the best. So you have to make it to the Kolsch Beer Hall to be in there and have a truly cultural immersion with the local population. It is a blast to go to that Kolsch Beer Hall. And then Amsterdam. Now, Amsterdam doesn't do the traditional, as you've seen along the Rhine, the Christmas market stalls, but they get into the spirit of Christmas with the Festival of Lights, right? So they're not going to be left behind in that sense. So they're going to celebrate as well. You see one of the canal boats there. And of course, there's 160 different canals in Amsterdam, but the canal boats are all lit up and the town is lit up in beautiful lights. So that's what Amsterdam does. Now, if you happen to gravitate towards what I was saying earlier about going on the Moselle, then you're going to visit some of the smaller villages on the Moselle, like here in Trier, Germany, right? And the thing about
That's where I am.
yeah, that's familiar. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. Thank you, Sandy. Absolutely. And what's nice about these, there's many nice things about the Christmas markets, but we were kind of kibitzing a little bit before we actually officially started. And this is the deal, as Sandy was saying, you know, we go to see, here in San Francisco, we may go to the Fairmont Hotel to see the huge gingerbread house or sit on Santa's lap or whatever, all the traditions, you know, that we have here locally in our culture. But the Christmas markets are the tradition of the local people in these towns and villages. So you're going to be hanging out, you're going to be rubbing shoulders with the local people, the local families who have brought the kids and the grandkids. And so it's not touristy in that sense at all. Plus, you're going to see in these various Christmas market stalls, you might see some artisans who have been working on their crafts that they're going to sell for the whole year. And you're not going to see yes, Liz is holding up.
I'm wearing, I know you gals probably love jewelry. I bought this necklace and these earrings in Vienna at a Christmas market a couple of years ago. I also wanted to say, I just remembered last fall, I was on a wine cruise. It was Europe's Rivers and Castles. We ended in, one of the last places was Trier, heading into Luxembourg. So we were there in Trier when they were setting up the Christmas market stalls, and it was gorgeous. I was so sad that it wasn't open yet, but really, truly, this little town, the shops are spectacular, very high quality, not super expensive, but just well done. And the rich history in this town, the wines are spectacular, and the people are as nice as they can be. Really, truly, this is a gorgeous town.
Thank you. Yeah, it certainly looks that way. And again, the Moselle is a river that doesn't get the publicity that the Rhine or say the Danube does, but it's certainly worth considering. And then Bernkastel is another smaller village on the Moselle that you'll have a chance to visit. So you can see a little smaller, more quaint, but that's part of the allure as well. And then if you want to do pre or post land programs, those are available. Amsterdam, Lucerne, Zurich combo, 2 nights and 2 nights, or again, that Lake Como package that I mentioned. Plus you can add on nights to these programs. And what's nice, the cruise manager who's with you on the ship is actually with you at the hotel as well. So they are almost like your de facto concierge because they're with you at the hotel. That's really nice. And then in terms of Christine, again, our owner and some of her insider tips, and Liz has already kind of alluded to this, and maybe you want to talk more about, because you have a collection of the mugs, right, Liz?
I do. It's so fun. Honestly, it's that, I mean, you don't want to get too many unless you brought an extra suitcase. But the way it works is you pay, I think it's €5. No, I'm sorry, it's €3 for a mug of Glühwein. And if you take the mug back once you're done and turn it in, they give you back some of that money. But if you just hang on to it, it's a souvenir. And every Christmas market has a different mug. So it's kind of an easy way to have these wonderful memories. I keep them in my kitchen and I sip coffee out of them. But right now I really did make some wonderful Glühwein. And let me tell you, one of the keys to excellent Glühwein, don't use crap wine. Because a lot of people think, oh, I'm just going to throw this $2 chuck in there. I say it's got to be at least $10, $15, something like that. I used Bordeaux wine, 2 bottles, and this is really good Glühwein. But I got to tell you, it's so much fun.
Liz, that holds true not only for Glühwein or anything, but it holds true for cooking wine. Everyone thinks they can put cheap plonking. But if you're gonna, if you're not prepared, if you're not going to enjoy drinking it, why would you cook with it?
Exactly.
Or why would you mix other stuff? So
exactly.
Indulge in your cooking wine and indulge in your Glühwein wine.
And €3, I mean, that's like $3, it's less than $3.50, and you get a mug and the wine in it. That's like amazing. It's like giving it away.
Sure is.
It really is such a fun thing about, maybe it's just me, but being able to be outside in the chilly weather, you're walking around, you're shopping, all of these lights and wonderful things just capturing your imagination and your attention. And you walk up and you can get a mug of Glühwein, some wonderful, like in Budapest, oh my gosh, some of the cheeses that they have in the Christmas markets, you just go up and you get a couple of slices and you just walk around, and I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it.
Oh, I love Budapest. Budapest is such a fabulous, and when I was there, it was the kind of towards the end of November. So they actually had some of the booths set up, and it was just gorgeous and fabulous. Sorry I wasn't there for the full-fledged.
And those are so different. That one is so different because some of them have certain things. And then like Budapest is known for their leather, their artisan.
Yes, there was a lot of leather crafts.
A lot of ceramic, like porcelain. Yeah, it's fun.
Indeed. So as the third bullet point there says, bring extra luggage and some bubble wrap, because those mugs are going to need a little bit of bubble wrap, and that's absolutely true. And then of course you have to potentially pack for colder weather, though typically nowadays the coldest weather is January, February versus December. So it's generally not.
The thing that you do is you put like a duffel bag that's just weighs nothing, and then what you do is you put your dirty laundry and your shoes and all the other stuff when you're going home in the duffel bag, because it doesn't have to be protected, and you put all your delicate, wonderful little gifts that you've bought to give everyone in your hard suitcase, and you're there.
Smart.
Excellent. Bingo. All right. And on both the Danube and the Rhine, for our Jewish guests, we do celebrate Hanukkah, and then we do have the opportunities to visit along the route, along the cruise, various places of interest for our Jewish guests as well. So it isn't necessarily that you have to go to all Christmas markets all the time. You can definitely visit places that would be, again, of interest for our Jewish guests. So I wanted to make mention of that. And I think that's important.
And there's some fabulous synagogues, all over Europe. And, if you do the Danube and you go into Budapest, that synagogue is amazing. And Budapest probably has the largest Jewish community in all of Europe. That's so right. It's really an active, very live, very beautiful, but they're all over the place. So, yes. And even if you're not, I'm Jewish and I love going to all the gorgeous cathedrals and churches in Europe. So I know that, there are people who are not Jewish, but it's still, beautiful to see what other people enjoy and celebrate at the same time.
True. Absolutely true. Thank you for that, Sandy. All right. And then right now, as we come towards the end here, a little bit here, we do have special offers for book reserving. That's the word we're using these days for next Christmas, where you can save additional monies off stateroom upgrade, shipboard credits. We also have a solo traveler special. We're very solo traveler friendly, right? In terms of looking after our solo traveler guests on board. And this puts the rubber on the road in the sense that we're offering only a 25% solo surcharge, and it's applicable to balcony cabins, which is kind of nice. So there's a whole variety of different specials out there right now. This is something you would need to reserve by the end of this December, effective for cruises that are leaving next December, or for that matter, 2022. And then we have also for webinar attendees, any cruise you book with Sandy for 21 or 22, an additional $100 per person. So for just showing up tonight, and if you happen to make a reservation for down the road, then we'll give you an additional $100. We're actually already over 20% booked for 2022. And then on our conference call today on Zoom, our reservations manager said that the phone calls on Saturday, this is Saturday, very high. So I think the news, what's happening, we think with the news of the vaccine, plural, coming, we're starting to see a pickup in the amount of interest in phone calls coming, which we kind of thought would happen. But when things break loose, we think it's going to be a tsunami of interest in terms of bookings. So anyway, that's the offer. You all know, hopefully, the value of being on a river cruise. I won't read the bullet points to you. These are all things that we bring to the table, or every river cruise does bring to the table. This intimacy factor in smaller ships, we think is going to be more resonant with folks these days for obvious reasons, right? So we won't, again, spend too much time on this, but all of these things are absolutely wonderful about river cruising. And actually, pre-COVID, river cruising was one of the hottest things in travel. And we dare say that post-COVID, or after vaccines are widely distributed and people start getting out there again, we're going to see river cruising maintain that level of interest as it had pre-COVID, right? And then some of the things that we bring to the table, what we call our brand truce or our marketing truce as a company. We are family owned. I showed you that picture of Christine earlier, since 2002. But people wonder about the financial stability of a family owned company. The cool thing is all the ships are paid for, including the 3 new ships coming next year, all paid for. So we have 0 debt, which is rather remarkable when you think about it. And then the other thing too is this highest level of hygiene and cleanliness. Ladies and gentlemen, this is something we've always practiced. Now we talk about it because people want to know, and rightfully so, they want to know what is the level of hygiene and cleanliness. It is fantastic. It is so fantastic that you can go here to AMAWaterways.com/travel-updates and see more about what it is that we do. And I say do because we cruised on the Rhine River for 4.5 months this summer under a German tour operator charter. We were the only North American brand cruising this past year on the Rhine River. So that was important for a number.
With no COVID outbreaks.
No COVID, with over 1,500 guests over 4.5 months. You might say, that's sure lucky. I say luck is the residue of design. And the fact is that all of these things came into play and then some, such that we had no COVID. That's number one. Number two important is the experience that we gained putting all of these practices into place is invaluable when we start up again, right? I use the sports metaphor every time. I say it's better to be active and a player in the game than on the sidelines and asking your teammates, how was it being out there on the field? No, we were on the field in the game. The only North American brand that can say that, and that's invaluable. So I make mention of that. So we're going to do a little toast before Warren get started here, and I have a little bit of wine left. So we're going to do this toast, and I'll say it. So please raise your glass, your mug, whatever you may have, and may love and laughter light your days and warm your heart and home. May good and faithful friends be yours wherever you may roam. May peace and plenty bless your world with joy that long endures. May all life's passing seasons bring the best to you and yours.
Cheer here.
L'chaim.
Cheers. That was beautiful.
All right. All right, so what we'll do is I can see, I'll stop sharing here. And by the way, ama does mean love. It comes from the Latin word amare, to love, right? So we love what we do. We love our travel advisors. We love our guests. So that's what that means. And then we do say very much wonderful, happy holidays to all of you. We say, share the gift of travel. What better stocking stuffer than you open your stocking and you say, guess where we're going next Christmas? It's a river cruise in Europe. Absolutely. So thank you so much. So I'm going to stop sharing now. Let me open this up here. Hang on. Bear with me.
Okay, while Brian's doing that, we'll open it up for a few questions, but I just want to jump in for a second and say, they talked about the shopping at the Christmas markets and the shopping in the stores in the villages, and it's really true. And it's wonderful to be on the, there in the Christmas markets right up into Christmas. But I have had clients who go early on and then do all their Christmas shopping while they're there. And then when they get home, they've had this fabulous experience at the Christmas markets and they've got all their presents done. So, it's a really, the unique things that you would never find anywhere here in the States. And like Brian mentioned, I mean, I know people who go to the Christmas markets year after year after year, and they're different. And some people think they're really touristy, but the reality is it's just a different culture and a different way of celebrating. Like Brian said, in San Francisco, we go see the gingerbread house at the Fairmont. In New York City, everybody goes to Rockefeller Center to go ice skate and to see the Christmas tree and see the Rockettes. And there's just all kinds of celebrations that we do in our country for Christmas that's not touristy. And this is how all these European villages do that too. So it really is a true experience. So any questions for anyone, for Brian or Liz or Katie? Unmic yourself, be sure.
Yes. So my question is about, obviously I think it would vary day to day and depending on the cruise, but one of my hesitancies towards doing one of the river cruises is just how scheduled it is. So what would you say is like a typical day in terms of the Christmas markets and how much time you actually get there versus how much time you're on the ship?
I can jump in and answer that. And then, or Sandy, did you want to answer that?
Well, let me do it. So it does, that's the thing have you ever been on a river cruise, Katie? Okay. The difference between river cruising and ocean cruising is exactly what you're talking about. I mean, the rivers were the highways of Europe before we had cars. And so the rivers stop in every little town and the ship pulls up into usually the center of town. When you walk off the ship, you're where you are. So, and on a river cruise, you have tremendous amount of flexibility. I mean, excursions are included. They're totally optional. You don't have to do them. They're also, kind of set, they have very active ones, moderate ones, and people who have mobility issues. So, you sign up like that. There are bicycles, there are bicycle tours. You can take your own bicycle. You can sleep in, have a late breakfast, walk off the ship and do your own thing for the day. If the ship is there overnight, or if it's a late departure, you can go and experience the evening in the destination. So it's really like a land trip, except your hotel moves with you every night. So you are not scheduled at all. It's totally optional. However you feel, whatever you want to do, it's totally up to you. There's tremendous amount of freedom. The only thing is you have to be on the ship when it sails to the next destination. That's it.
And I can tell you that if you stay on the ship and don't go, you're so well taken care of. Our crew will bring food and whatever you need. So it's not like you're left behind and it's, you miss out on all the fun. It's very, very flexible.
But so, if I may, Liz and Sandy, when we visited the Christmas markets a year or so ago, when we could travel, they opened in the night and they closed down at 9 o'clock in the evening, and they weren't open in the daytime.
Yeah.
So are the schedules for the Christmas market cruises aligned with the markets?
Yes, the actual Christmas market cruises have Christmas market excursions.
Right.
So you get to go, and so the ship is arranged, the nautical is arranged so that you get to see them when they're open, prime time. beautiful. And yes, and during the day, you have other things that you get to do, the city tours, the wine tastings, all that fun stuff. So Christmas market cruises are really rich, lots going on. But
Right.
again, you don't have to do it all.
No, and the other thing too is these excursions are included in the price, which is nice. So river cruising is very inclusive from that standpoint. So I like to go out and kind of maybe do a tour during the day, the afternoon, maybe do my own thing, but certainly on Christmas markets, that's part of the reason if you just wanted to go on one and reserve one, you're going to want to go to the Christmas markets, certainly in the evening. But I totally agree. I came from 20 some odd years on the ocean side of things, representing a couple of different ocean products that you all know. And then I moved to the river sector. And let me tell you, it is incredibly flexible, much more intimate, no schlepping. You're right in the heart of where you want to be. You pull in, you're right there, because these towns, villages, and cities, as Sandy mentioned, they all emanated from the river. Sandy again said, these are the roads of old. So you're always in the heart of the destination. And that is.
We got to be a little careful on time here, Brian. So I'm sorry to cut you off, but I just want to make sure there aren't any other questions before we turn this over to Warren.
I have two quick questions for you, Sandy.
Yes.
When does the Christmas market season start? And how long are these tours typically?
They're typically a week. There was one that was 10 days that did the Moselle, and they usually start the end of November and will go to around a couple of days before Christmas in some places, and some will go a little bit past Christmas, where you actually have Christmas on the ship, which is pretty fabulous.
And we also
it depends on the itinerary and the schedule of the markets.
That's right. And we actually start mid-November, and we actually have New Year's cruises as well. Some of the smaller towns and villages, to be just as a heads up, fully transparent.
Brian, we got
okay. 22nd and 23rd of December.
Right. Okay. Any other questions?
Let's drink.
All right. Thank you, guys. This was absolutely fabulous. It was so wonderful. I can't believe, I just want to go right away. My little shopping heart is just like, oh God. Anyway, all right. Now we know about Gulwein, but let's drink the real good stuff. So I'm going to turn this over to Warren. Most of you know Warren. We love Warren. Warren is our go-to wine aficionado. I've named him the Wikipedia of wine, and so we all love him, but I think we might even have some new people. So I'm just going to give a quick little thing. Warren is a dear friend and owns a wine purveyor company called Duvan. And he has a wonderful niche in the market where he is in a perfect place where he has access to these incredible wineries all over the world and can source things that some larger companies just can't get access to because there's just the volume is different and the needs are different. And Warren is just charming. He's funny. He's not a wine snob. I mean, it's just a delight and a pleasure. So I'm going to turn this over to Warren. And Warren, what are we drinking from Germany?
Well, thank you, Sandy. Well, I can be a wine snob if you'd like.
I know, but we love you when you're not.
I read a wine review today that talked about acai berries and, sassafras. I'm like, seriously? My favorite was gooseberries. It's like, who in America's who's ever eaten a gooseberry? Like, unless you've been, like hardly anyone, unless you've been to South Africa. I grew up at a gooseberry tree in the backyard. I've never seen a gooseberry in America. It just drives me crazy. This guy's describing Sauvignon Blanc tasting like gooseberry. It's like, bugger off. Anyway, but we do have a couple of really, really terrific wines tonight. And Katie, this is really cool because we drank an unbelievable Riesling last week on the Provisor's Call. And that was like phenomenal. And this one kicks its ass. I mean, this is a serious wine. So, obviously, if you're in Germany, Austria, the Mosel, that whole area, Riesling is it. And for me, there's no greater white grape than Riesling. And I think most people in the business and professionals who've drunk a lot of grapes would say, it's not that it's better than Chardonnay or anything, but it's the greatest grape because of its versatility. Now, if you look on the back of the label, those of you who have the wine, you'll see it talks about, there's like a scale there from dry all the way to ultra sweet. So, and Germany is very complicated because most people think of Riesling as sweet, right? We all grew up with that blue nun brewed on the inside of a kangaroo crap. But this is serious wine. So, but you know, it sort of goes Spatzles, Ausles, Beeren Ausles, Trockenbeeren Auslese, or you know, basically all that means is different levels of sugar. And this one has what's the sugar level in this one is 7 grams per liter. I think by the time you get to some of the really sweet wines, the Trockenbeeren Auslese, you can get up to 18, 19 grams per liter, and they're like sweet, like Sorten, and they're among the nectars of the gods, and you'll pay $1,000 or more for a $375 a bottle of wine because it takes a huge number of grapes, you know, with botrytis and everything to make the wine. But this is a typical dry Riesling, but you'll probably notice, those of you who are drinking it, while it's beautifully fragrant, it's got gorgeous golden hue, it's very floral on the nose, but it does seem to have a lot of sweetness to it, even though it's considered a dry Riesling. So here's a tip: if you're ever ordering or eating Thai food, Indian food, you know, any food with a bit of heat to it, don't drink Chardonnay, because you'll spoil the food and ruin the Chardonnay. You know, so you can have a $5,000 bottle of Burgundian Chardonnay, and if you eat that with some Vindaloo, forget it, right? But grab yourself an off-dry or even a semi-sweet Riesling with food with heat, and it's an amazing, amazing combination. So this is a particularly special wine. Maximum Grünhaus has been around. They've been making wine in these vineyards since the 7th century. So, I mean, that's a pretty long time. So they kind of know what they're doing over there. Incredibly steep slopes. Everything's hand harvested. And just, you know, this is you see on the label, it says GG, Absberg GG. So Absberg is one of the most famous of all of the German Riesling vineyards. And the GG stands for Grosser Gewachs, which in English just means bloody good vineyard. And it's just sort of a, you know, some of them call it Einster or first growth. You know, it's the Premier Cru, Grand Cru, not Premier, Grand Cru. This is the highest level. You will not find a better vineyard for Riesling in the world than the Absberg vineyard at Maximum Grünhaus. And just a gorgeous wine. What do you guys, those of you who are drinking, if you're not drinking this wine and you haven't ordered it for this series of tastings, you need to get off the Zoom now and get into your email and like email me, because I don't know who else is drinking this Riesling, but oh my God, this is my first time drinking this wine. It was recommended to me. I love Riesling.
How much do you have left?
There's plenty left. I think about a half a dozen in the warehouse, but the distributor has plenty. Okay. And drink up, because next year they'll make more. But I mean, this is just a spec for me. I haven't had a chance to prepare any food. I am eating a little bit of biltong, South African jerky here, which is a little bit, you know, got a little bit of peppery notes to it. And I'm just drinking this without food. And I'm like, you know something? Connie had some Peking duck that she picked up the other day. She's out with her sister having dinner, and I have to fend for myself. But I think I'm going to have Peking duck with plum sauce and Riesling for dinner. Although actually, this would be really good with that too. So I'm glad I've opened both bottles of wine, because this Spatzburgunder, which again is a fancy word for Pinot Noir, which is a fancy French word for bloody good, fragrant red wine. And but this also is, you know, Wittmann goes back to, I think this is their 357th vintage that this family-owned winery has produced, going back to the 1700s or 1800s. And again, just a beautiful wine. I mean, for those of you who've been on the course before where we've done Pinot, hold it up against a sheet of white paper or something like that, and you can see Pinot Noir, put your fingers behind it. You can see it's should be translucent. If you can't see your fingers through a glass of Pinot Noir, it's not authentic. It's a manipulated wine. It's probably full of mega purple. Mega purple is dried grape must that is sold commercially to winemakers in order. And so when they take the must, you know, the skins, the seeds off the top of the barrel, they dehydrate that, they put it into little bouillon cubes, and they sell it to wineries to take light thin grapes and wines and make them beautiful claret or ruby red color. Because for many people in America, we think if the wine isn't deep garnet, ruby, or claret color, it can't be any good. Well, Pinot Noir, you need to be able to see through it in order to get that beautiful, delicate femininity that I think is truly expressive of Pinot Noir, and the gorgeous rose petal fragrance on the wine. And again, Germany's not really known for its red wines, and I think this is a particularly solid example of what they can do there. I think Fritz Wieninger in Austria, in the Vienna Hills, makes a superb Pinot Noir as well. But it's not typical for the region. But I think a very pleasant, quaffable Tuesday night wine, this Wittmann Pinot Noir.
Great. Any comments, thoughts about what you liked about it? I'm honestly saving my Riesling for a wonderful Indian dinner.
So Warren, in the world of Rieslings, this would be a Cabernet?
Yeah, probably. I mean, this is a dry Riesling. You know, this is probably on the lowest end or close to the lowest end of sugar content. Yeah, maybe Auslese, I don't know, but yeah, probably Cabernet, I would say. Good call on that.
I mean, it's not labeled. That's why I'm asking.
No, and it doesn't say that on this. I'm just looking on the sheet here. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't say. But I think you're right. I think it's definitely on the lower end of the sugar spectrum, if not on the lowest end of it.
So what do you think? But what do you think about the Pinot? How do you feel it compares to other Pinots that we've had, or our California Pinots? Do you like it better or not? Warren said it's kind of a Tuesday night wine. What do you think?
I'll tell you tomorrow.
All right, that's fair, Jeff. That's fair.
No, don't misunderstand me, Sandy. I mean, this is a very high quality Pinot Noir. I mean, it's just.
I know, but you've set the bar so high for us, Warren.
It's really different. I mean, Warren said it, that Germany's not known for their reds. So, you know, but when you find one that's good, that's interesting. It's not at all like anything from New World Pinot, whether that's New Zealand or the US, you know, California, Oregon. And it's certainly not a Burgundy, but it's a very nice little red wine.
Oh, yeah.
Nice little red wine.
I don't know if I would have recognized it as Pinot like immediately, like I normally can tell a Pinot.
Ginger, I'm not sure you're giving yourself enough credit. If you just, the nose and the color is a total giveaway.
Yeah. Well, I had a Zoom holiday party that had 3 mystery wines, and I missed a couple of them. I was surprised.
Yeah.
Really? There was one that was a cab, and it was about like this. So, but it was very, very young and from a funny producer. So
great. Did anyone make any of the desserts?
No.
We're planning on trying them. I mean, you know, it's interesting to have desserts that are not as how should I say? I don't want to use, or indulging as we typically get this time of the year.
I need someone to bake for me.
Were they desserts?
I'm not a big baker.
Were they desserts we were to have with the wine?
No, not necessarily. I mean, the you know, as Warren had said, an Asian cuisine would be good with the Riesling, and so I wanted to stick to the AMA recipes just so that we'd have an experience of kind of the culinary thing. So that's why I went with the wraps. And then I just thought, well, you know, it's Christmas, so why not have a traditional glazed ham recipe? And then I just, because it was the Christmas time and they had these holiday desserts, I put those in, but those weren't specifically for the to be paired with the wines.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just for food with heat. I mean, this is a very flexible wine. I mean, if you went to Germany, they'd be drinking this wine with Wiener Schnitzel and all kinds of dishes. It's a very versatile wine. It's a wine that actually works as just as a lovely aperitif by itself. Now that it's warmed up a little in my glass, it's even more interesting to me than it was when I first pulled it out of the fridge.
Well, we had it with Thai food and it was really, really perfect.
Mhm.
No, I was thinking this little thing that I had on Saturday, they made a green curry butternut squash soup, non-dairy. And so we had that, and we had it with a Gewürztraminer, but it would have been fabulous with this Riesling.
Yeah, that when you put that in the chat, Ginger, that just sounded amazing.
But
Well,
this
I will
is a
send you
very
her
this is a
recipe.
very special wine. I mean, this is not your father's Oldsmobile. I mean, this is like a $75 bottle of wine, and it's, you know, again, it's from one of the most famed vineyards. It's you know, it's got that, I didn't say this earlier, but very typical, if you want to guess a white wine, Riesling has sort of that petroleum nose to it. You know, sort of has, and in the mouth, it has a viscosity and oiliness that is just, you know, just beautifully, you know, inviting to drink.
It never sounds good to say it's got a petroleum quality, but you're right, it does.
I'm not saying that you should drink your gasoline or pour this into
Or
your
your
Mercedes.
motor oil.
But it's but that's typical, you know, some of the and once someone says to you that high quality Riesling has petroleum notes on the nose, you'll never be able to miss a Riesling
Right.
on that first smell. You'll be Riesling. So
Ginger, we're getting requests for your butternut squash. Was that your recipe or was it someone made that for you?
No, it's for a friend of mine. It was an amazing Christmas party. The people who live across the street from my old house usually have a wine and food thing. And we went over on Saturday afternoon and got a bag with A through H little jars with like 1 ounce servings of different wines and labeled A through H appetizers and main courses, including a soup. And then we had this Zoom party and quizzes and my team won.
well,
But,
God,
um,
I
will get you, I have her recipe.
I
You have the recipe? Okay, if you share it with me, I'll share it with everyone.
I'll send it
I have
to
the best recipe. I just posted it into the chat.
Okay,
From Chef Lionel at the French Club. If you've not been to the French Club, it's the best wine and food experience in the history of the world, outside of Louis XIV's bacchanals in the forests. But certainly in San Francisco, it's really ridiculous and awesome. And this butternut squash soup is out of this world, out of this world. So go to the chat, copy that, and try that one.
That one too. Yeah, Sandy, I'll send that to you later today.
okay, and I just copied that and I will send Warren's recipe along with Ginger. So you'll have both of them. So if you didn't get a chance to copy it, I've done that and I'll send it with Ginger's.
Yeah, the killer thing about Dough Quinn's was had green curry. And the green curry is very spicy. So you can add as much or as little as you like to make it really kick.
It sounds great. It sounds really, really great.
Hi, Lisa.
Katie, who's your buddy?
Hi, Warren. How are you?
I'm good. How was Africa?
Africa was amazing. We had a great time, and I'm still, of course, posting pictures because I took like 8,000.
Lisa and several of my colleagues went to Uganda to see the gorillas in November. and it was just an amazing trip. The pictures are fantastic. And I think the thing that was so hard for me was to watch these gorillas and the moms cuddling the babies and the, you know, them kind of having social, intimate, you know, interactions. And here are these gorillas hugging and kissing, and we have to stay 6 feet apart. So that was the hardest part. But Elisa's a fabulous photographer, and her pictures were just amazing.
Oh, thank you. So the best part about it is how important tourism is.
Oh.
How so important that we get out and travel when we can, just to support the local economy, because they haven't seen any tourists since March. We were the first to come in, and they call us in Uganda, they call us the white people, the Mzungus. And so they would run when they would hear the safari cars coming, they would run to the streets and yell, "We love you, white people. We love you. Thank you for coming. We love you. We love you. Thank you for visiting Uganda." And this was all just very spontaneous. And they were so grateful to have us there. And so it was very impactful, down to the little shop owners in the streets, to anybody, you know, the guides, the pilots, everybody was so grateful to have us there. So once you can, this Christmas market cruise is going to be phenomenal. Jump on it, because you're making a huge impact to people worldwide.
You know, there was an article in the New York Times yesterday in Kenya about how the sale of young girls as child brides has gone up dramatically since COVID, because families.
And the animals are being poached because the villagers don't have any other source of income, and the poachers are just taking advantage. And you know, there's just so much. $5.5 trillion US dollars was lost this year in the global economy for travel. 5.5 trillion. So you can imagine how many people all around the globe rely on, you know, travel as for their livelihood. And so if we want to you know, have a rebound, and we also don't want to get, you know, we want to have the economy worldwide come back. Travel is an important sector. There's 197 million jobs in travel. That's a lot. And I think that's just I don't know if it's worldwide or US, but it's amazing. Travel is an important sector, and people don't realize it. And it really supports the world and people all around, not, you know, so when we can and when you're comfortable, it's time to get back out and, you know, do our part to just be part of this world community that we all are.
Well, you know what? One thing real quick is what they said is that in some of the different villages that we visited, one where like they were, you know, they work with some of the house moms and they sew and quilt. And we all brought lots of things back. In fact, we all ordered lots of clothing, dresses, pants, bags, quilted, and so on, pillows, chair cushions. And when I was talking to the lady who owns it, it's called Ride for a Woman. Her name's Evelyn. And I said, "Evelyn, are you sure? This is a huge order. We arrive on a Sunday and she's got to produce this by Tuesday." And she said to me, "Lisa, I can't even begin to tell you nothing since March." And she said, "I had to do a lot of encouraging conversations with the ladies in the villages and just letting them know it's coming, you know, please have faith, it's coming." And she said that she was starting to watch the hope drain out of the women. And she said, when we arrived, she said, "I watched the hope come back from the bottom of their feet to the top of their heads." And she said it completely changed the ladies. And just knowing that we were there and gave them an order, she said, hope was rising in our village when we saw you.
That's so amazing, Lisa.
Amazing.
So amazing.
Amazing. So get out there and travel.
Yeah.
I have to leave, ladies and gentlemen, and Liz had internet problems, so she gives her best as well. And I want to say thank you for the opportunity to chat with you tonight. Keep going, but I have to run now at the moment. But thank you so much, Sandy, and everybody.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay, thank you.
Great job, Brian.
Thank you.
And Michaela,